Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second live stream event called the Ouija board debates because we do love our Ouija boards. And we'll bring you today. We bring our moderator who will explain how the show will work today.
Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida, and we are here for the Great Ouija Board Debates. And we're going to start by giving each of our contestants a few moments to introduce themselves, and then we'll be doing questions. And I have a small list of questions. We also are prepared to take questions from people in the room. If you have a question, you can add it to the chat function, and I will ask it on your behalf. And Sir Edward, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Ed the Pagan. I'm a lover of all things supernatural. I have a deep understanding of them, and I run the Last Act Before the Apocalypse, Last Act Apocalypse on Facebook book, which has a great degree of Ouija board information and things about the end of the world.
And Reverend Ravenwolf, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Rev Ravenwolf. I'm a spiritualist medium, paranormal investigator, up and coming author. I delve into the wondrous world of the supernatural, everything that is to know about paranormal. Right now, I'm working on a book about haunted Illinois, and Ouija boards are part of my speciality.
Very good. And you, what are you doing here? This is not a presidential debate. You do not belong here. What? You're a ghost fly. Well, I guess maybe you do belong here. But if you're going to be here, you're going to have to work. You will help me to keep the time. When your time with each question is expired, the fly will appear. You must respect our Atora fly. So, our first question: how do you feel that stories about Ouija boards have affected people's interaction with them? And we will let Sir Edward go first and Reverend Ravenwolf go second.
I absolutely think that when we see things like hyperrealities, the way we paradigm stuff, the way we feel about things, especially like you see movies, pop culture and all that, create these filters. Quantum theory, observational theory. Terence McKenna said the world will blow your mind if you allow it to just give it a minute. Our imagination drives all of this. And so to a large degree, the stories we see and create are driving, people kind of mad with the energy of it.
All right. Well, we did not get to the full 3 minutes, but that's all right. Ravenwolf, it's your turn. How would you answer that question?
That's a really good question. As with anything, how people see Ouija boards is dictated by how the media presents it. The media will always present things in certain ways to make it digestible, to make it acceptable. I think a lot of times the more the media portrays things as negative, it actually helps people want to learn about it and to do it. One of the things that the media does, and it does it very well, and I've covered this in many live streams, is it sways the court of public opinion. When it comes to Ouija boards, as much as it is unique and individual to the people that practice it, people turn to the media and they're like, oh my gosh, the media say this will happen. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. Chances are it won't, but the media says it will, so therefore people are swayed by it.
No, very good. Our next question: can you speak to why Ouija boards would have a worse reputation than, for example, pendulums, which are essentially the same thing? And this time, we'll let Ravenwolf go first.
Reputation is garnered by the stories that stick. There's always been a stigma about Ouija boards. There's always been this kind of like overlaying there's something inherently wrong with them. You made a point about pendulums, and they're essentially the same thing, and they are. But again, the way in which we learn Ouija boards is only through the tragic stories. We learn about chance, circumstance. We learn about kind of how we learn history, and how we learn about new things is only through tragedy. With pendulums, it's kind of the same, right? You only learn the pendulum through the weird and the fantastic. Ouija boards have always had this negative stigma attached to them, and I think that's what drives people kind of like to do it more without realizing what they're getting into.
Oh, very good. And Sir Edward, would you like to give your answer?
Well, there's a very simple dynamic. The Ouija board has built-in systems and the ability to be controlled by outside forces than it is through the pendulum. The pendulum is held by the hand of the practitioner, and there is no engagement. There's no desire for the outside forces to come in. It's more of a psychic art that is very, very strong, very, very personal. So it's a conduit of your energy to the earth. A Ouija board is completely a different entity. It is you making a handshake through that dimensional portal straight into the lower dimensions, if you believe in that sort of thing, and they drag up the spirits to do so. That's like comparing an onion, which will make you cry if you cut it, but it has no way of actually affecting you, and the knife that cuts the onion. The Ouija board is the knife. It will actually cut away at the reality that you're playing at. The pendulum has no opportunity to do that unless the spirit possesses you and moves that energy. The Ouija board, the energy is inherent in the fingers and allows for partial possession through the lower hands and arms.
Thank you. What? Oh, yes, you're right. They're not filling their time. I've given you a job that seems irrelevant, but they may run over yet. Remember last week. So our next question. Could you speak to when
to do that?
When
Pop in the middle of a broadcast.
When Ouija boards are more safe to use versus when you would feel they would be more dangerous to use, if you feel that the question has application. And Sir Edward, you go first this time.
Can you repeat the question so I understand it?
Do you feel there are times when Ouija boards are safe to use? And if so, how is this different from times when they are dangerous to use? And what makes the difference?
Well, taking the con side, the only time that they're safe to use is when they're in the box and are used as an ornament on your wall for Halloween decorations.
Ooh.
Anything else is actually too dangerous to use, because the minute you taint yourself even a tiny bit within the sinful world, and I'm channeling my right Richard Reverend Riser, if you do not know who that is, it is a most important personality. You can look it up on the Doomsday Show on YouTube. But let me put it
on magichtv.com.
Huh? At magichtv.com.
You can see that on magichtv.com.
At that point, if you are truly going to accept that Ouija boards have any power, is leaving it wrapped into the thing, and the only really safe Ouija board is the uncreated one. All other ones, the minute it is created by the Archdeacon Squeaky, who is what is blessing upon it, it begins a process that is just detrimental to the world.
And Ravenwolf.
When are they safe to use? Under the proper environment. The worst possible case, the worst possible time for anybody to use a tool of divination is when you're young, untrained, and you're doing it for the party, right? And you're trying to get your girlfriends and your boyfriends involved. That's the worst time. Ouija boards are properly used when you have the training, mental, and it's not really a mental thing, but when you have this ability to know what you're getting yourself in for. They've been used with varying success with seances, with safe communication. But again, the stigma comes from people who are not trained, who don't know the power of what they're dealing with. They do it to earn the brownie points with their respective other loved ones and all of this. And that's the dangerous side. With training, with guidance, etc., Ouija boards are not dangerous. They're methods of communication. But like with anything, you can. Cell phones are dangerous. It just depends on who you call, who you start texting. And the same thing goes with Ouija boards. With training, not dangerous at all.
Thank you, Ravenwolf. And I'd like to remind our viewers that if you happen to be in the room this evening and you have a question you would like to add, please type it into the chat function and we will ask it. If you happen to be deceased, I believe we have a Ouija board in use somewhere that you can spell your question out on, and we will add it as well. So our next question, barring any suddenly appearing in the chat feature, would you consider a Ouija board made from cardboard or a Ouija board made from wood to be, according to your positions, either more effective or more dangerous? And if so, does the kind of wood make a difference? And Sir Edward, you can go first this time.
I'm more than happy to use RJ. Actually, the most powerful Ouija boards are yet to come. They're coming in the form of VR. They're already existed in digital.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be much more attached to the quantum universe, and that'll give them a much more direct line to hell than they have ever had before. So you have to understand that if we believe and conceive that the archdemon Squiggy, who is the inventor of the Ouija board, is basically, and this is a demonic force entering into the world, the way that it continues to expand out there. Of course, anyone who knows anything, the best wood is the wood that comes out of a cemetery, out of a tree that grows over a grave. And that grave, that spirit will be then born into that tree. You get a big enough limb or part of that tree, and even if it's cut down from a graveyard tree, it would be better. If not, then you can use the flechettes made out of different woods as well. So getting into a cemetery and cemetery wood would be even better. But of course, the woods you don't want to do is use cedar because it's just stinky, and you just don't want to use that type of thing. Of course, the ultimate answer is that plastic, because plastic is eternal. It's pink. It can be any color. It's eternal. And the more that you use plastic, its inability to be decomposed over a long period of time allows demonic forces to exercise their ability for an even longer period of time. An even better one would be a Ouija board made out of crystal, because then it would be basically Lemurian or Atlantis. Can you imagine if we found a Ouija board from Atlantis? That sort of thing. It would be made out of pure crystal with Atlantean symbols, and it would be an amazing find. So let us leave these types of relics so that future people could either be very fearful of them or possibly be possessed. After all, can you imagine it? And the last possible place we build a Ouija board is out of quantum materials, nanites. I'm really serious about that. If you had nanites made up a Ouija board, then when you put your fingers on it, it would actually suck into your life energy and would make a direct brain attachment to you to the direct quantum link to hell that I was just talking about. So nanites are probably the worst thing you could build a Ouija board out of.
I'll have to speak to the programmers. Ravenwolf, what is your answer to this question?
Some excellent conspiracy theories there from Ed. Wood. Let's look at it. Wood absorbs all different types of energy. Plastic can't. Wood has been used for thousands of years as something that the spiritual realm loves and knows how to handle. The best type of wood would be oak. The worst type of wood would be cedar. Plastic is not even in the running. How wood works and how we understand it to work in the paranormal community is that spirits are able to absorb their energy into things. We talk a lot about nano this, nano that, the techno mage this, the techno mage that. In the realm of the spirit, they could care less about technology. What they're looking for is the ways in which humans have always communicated. For Ouija boards, I would say if you were to have the best wood, it would be oak. If you were to have the worst wood, as in the type of wood that is unable to be sanctified, purified, and generally blessed, it would be cedar. Hands down, cedar.
Thank you, Ravenwolf.
So obviously we both agree cedar is the worst. This is where we agree. Cedar is the worst word to make.
It is, yeah. I mean, just to clear up on why I say that there's not just involving Ouija boards, but right the way across the history of hauntings, what cedar does is it's unable to kind of clarify energies within it. It is the worst type of wood that you could use. It's great. I mean, if you're using it for, I don't know, home furnishings and all of that, it's fine. It's got a nice smell. But if you're using it for a spiritual conduit, don't do it. It's the worst possible type of wood.
Alrighty then. So we have a question in the chat room. We have two actually. And the first one, well, actually, we'll go with the second one first because it's closer to the current subject. Reverend Sir Laurie is asking, what about a fabric? And she points out that you see many fabric prints of the Ouija face. And would this be usable? And we will start with Ravenwolf this time.
Yes. Humans, I mean, right the way across our history is a kind. We've had this idea of printing. We've had this idea of using fabrics. So why not? When you write things, when you're a scribe, they work better than carving, right? When you actually write something, I'm writing A, B, C. Those that watch my morning rituals, especially with feather magic, and I use the feather to carve out alpha and omega. What I'm doing is I'm writing into the fabric, right? So yeah, fabric really works. It's this idea of a personal connection. Is it common? No, it really isn't. People are really after this whole, I want to hold a Ouija board in my hand type thing. But when it comes to fabrics, it's like, it's a fabric. Sure, you can buy tablecloths, you can buy also, you can buy whatever fabric that you want, but there's nothing to say that it couldn't work. Just depends on the person that wants to do it, really. The type of fabrics you want to use. Silk, that would be the best one. Sometimes wool. Silk is the type of fabric that spirits associate themselves with. Wool gives a sense of warmthness. It's the hearse. Those would be the two that would be the most valuable. Others probably not. But again, how you create your board is unique and personal to you.
Thank you, Ravenwolf. Sir Edward, fabric Ouija boards.
Oh, this is amongst the continuation of Archdemon Squiggy's major plan. Remember, let's get back to the original plan. In order for the Ouija boards to exist in the way that they needed to, the Archdemon Squiggy wasn't an Archdemon. In fact, he was apprentice Squiggy, and he was a torturer of mathematics. His job in hell was to torture people with mathematics. And you can say, what do you mean like that? Ever try to take a test and don't know the mathematical answer? That exquisite torture was his. And of course, some of his greatest clients was Sir Isaac Newton and others that he made deals with to allow the sort of ideology of mathematics to come into the world. Because mathematics is what the universe is made of, and it is an absolute denial of God, because God doesn't need mathematics. He can do anything he wants.
So you're saying
Yes.
that that Squiggy was in charge of the Inquisition.
Very well put. And so in that process, he went to his Lord and Master's big hairy legs, as because he's a very short little apprentice demon, and he said, "I have this idea. Remember, I think we can make these talking boards work." He says, "Yeah, we've been working with it in the research department as another way to kind of make contact with the physical, with the secondary world." And he goes, "Oh yeah. I think I can get people to use them a lot." Okay, tell me your idea. And the idea of building factories. We went over that before. So we got factories built. This is a continuation of normalization of Ouija boards. Not only is it dangerous to have them on fabric where you can then run your fingers, and all it takes is you running your hands over the letters with any sort of intent can actually begin the demonic forces that would then give you answers. So Eddie would use the cloth of the Ouija board. All they do is act like their fingers are closed and get it to open a portal. And they're also doing handbags. They're doing bed sheets. Well, that's fabric, I guess. They're doing jewelry. They're doing glasses. And even the worst thing you can do is tattoos. Can you imagine how utterly dangerous it is to put on your skin a tattoo system that is absolutely a way to get into that sort of thing? And it may not be directly a link to hell, but it is a direct link into the imagination where Christians go absolutely ape shit, realizing that their minds are being possessed by the demonic forces that Squiggy is layering onto them, and they keep adding to the stories to the point where any form of it is, and now we are normalizing it. We've already talked about data Ouija boards and things like that. But to see a beautiful woman, there are many of them with Ouija boards drawn all over them, to become a portal into hell. What there might as well be succubuses for all we do. So with this constant possession of normal reality by these Ouija boards makes it possible for other demonic forces to come in and absolutely absurdly and directly begin to be invited into this world. And if they're invited to this world, especially with Halloween being such a low veil, anyone who uses a Ouija board close to Halloween this year is absolutely insane. I don't even know why anyone would possibly want to do a Ouija board close to this thing. And on this day, yesterday and today, I was on top of the world's largest Ouija board in Salem. Yeah, I was wearing a Ouija board too. And that makes me understand how dangerous these ideas can be. Can you imagine being on top of the world's largest Ouija board and trying to do things? And so that, all right, the fly that, and being able to do sort of a possession piece.
Fly has finally had his moment.
I mean, just to rebut that, okay, let's look at it seriously, right? Hell is a made-up construct. We live in it. Literally what the Catholic Church has actually admitted over the last 6 months is, oopsies, hell doesn't exist, because we're living in it. Actually, the bishops, I mean, most of the Vatican now has a new stance that, whoops, we kind of messed up here. This whole idea of hell, this whole idea of demons, this whole idea of everything, right? Demons are messengers, messengers are demons. Demons are angels, angels are demons. It's the same thing, just polar opposites. It would be technically impossible, right? To play devil's advocate. I go out onto, I don't know, I can't really do this.
Why do you keep changing sides?
Okay, no, I'm just
Either
saying,
you're going to be on one or the other here.
if I had a tattoo made out of a Ouija board, would that open a doorway? No. Tattoos don't work like that. There would have to be intent. One of the things that I've always said is Ouija boards are harmless depending on who's using them. I could have a tattoo of a pentagram. Does it mean that those elements are suddenly going to come to life? No. Do I have a tattoo of a pentagram? Not yet. I'm kind of working on it. My tattoo artist has COVID right now, so me and him are kind of like. But anywho, this whole thing about hell, this whole thing about the nether realms, they're just stories. They're there to make us afraid. Ouija boards aren't conduits to hell, but they help us communicate with the lost. They really help us bridge the sort of unfinished business, but that has nothing to do with, oh my gosh, now we've raised the denizens of hell. It's not what they're designed to do. Sorry to do a rebuttal.
Thank you, Raven Wolf. Sir Ed, would you care to rebut? I'd repeat the question, but I don't know what it was.
To rebut. I don't know if there's much to rebut here. I mean, obviously, it depends on where your intent is. What was it? You say intent, but what could possibly possess somebody to put a Ouija board on themselves? Madness, insanity. But let me give you one more step in this sort of plan that's going out there. Now we see the normalized Ouija boards. And remember, 4 years ago, I used a Ouija board right after the holiday collider. And this is not a conspiracy theory. This is a truth. After they ran it, and everybody's now been seeing the story lately about them looking for parallel realities. And I used and at the same time, yeah, the LHC 2015, look it up. It's a real fact that they began to do so. And a lot of people feel the Mandela effect came in. I used a Ouija board in the center of that Mandela effect. And what was my answers? My answers were absolutely frightening. The Cubs win. Me and RJ can agree that was a good moment, right? We love Cubs
I think
winning.
this is one of the
Cubs
times
won.
where I would agree, yes.
Right. October 1st was that. Then it said that we asked about politics. Trump wins. Third answer, Russians inside. Tell us a secret. Russians inside. Fourth,
There's always
the
been
fourth
this
one was
fear of,
the world conqueror emerged.
there's always been this irrational fear that America has that
We see
Russia
it
is
down
about
below.
to do something.
So so honestly, the continued normalization of the Ouija board is another sign why we're heading for an apocalyptic event.
So, next question. This time there will be a question. Is there a film that you feel particularly accurately portrays the use of Ouija boards? And Sared, you can go first.
No, none of them absolutely show any truth to it. There are all these stories about things that have happened. The only true story is the filming of a Ouija board, and no one has dared do that yet. So I challenge you filmmakers to follow someone who's actually working Ouija boards and doing it right and see the real hell that they're going to inflict upon us all.
Ravenwolf.
Hello. Oh boy, good question. Whoever asked that one is a good one. The answer is simply, it's no market. Hollywood does, I mean, right now Hollywood's shut down, but when Hollywood was working before COVID, they're more worried about pursuing gender and other things rather than pursuing things on spiritual matters. The horror genres, tried and tested. They've gone through pretty much every single trope they can think of. Why they haven't ever accurately portrayed a Ouija board is very simple. They don't have a story. They don't have the ability to tell real stories, real evidence. The closest they ever came was The Exorcist, but they backed off at the last minute. The story behind that, I knew Roland. I knew the family. The current family, when you speak to them, they were very clear. They refused to help Hollywood depict the positive side to what Roland was going through. So they made it up. Is there a film that will ever make Ouija boards look good? The answer is simply no, because there's no market. Nobody's going, oh, hi, we want to have a positive movie about a Ouija board. It's not how Hollywood works. What they're looking for is shock and awe. They're looking for what's going to bring people back to our seats. Or, because we're now in 2020, what's going to bring people back to the drive-ins? What's going to scare them? Ouija boards don't ever scare anybody anymore. They're like, oh my gosh, give us a good horror story. Ouija boards, not even close. There's this point where Hollywood has no market for them at all. Whether it's good or bad, they have no market. And so they've just swept it aside.
Thank you, Raven.
I have actually rebuttals to this. So let me take a minute to do this. I don't think we need Hollywood anymore. So yeah, Hollywood does a bad job, but I think there is a marketplace for a good Ouija board movie. Ouija story, and we don't have to go through that idea. But in fact, we have no middleman anymore. So any story we really want to tell, we don't need Hollywood anymore. Let them go ahead and make these sort of underrated and powerful movies. The Ouija movies are terrific movies. I mean, they explain stories that are based on true stories. But if we don't like them, we can make our own stories.
But again, it's all about, just to rebuff it, it's all about marketing. They're not going to market things which they don't know. So, I mean, you could come up, you could be an indie movie company and you could come up with the greatest horror stories ever known. If there's no market, simply put, the production studio is going to be like, no, well, it's straight to Netflix. It's straight. The Haunting, I mean, just to segue, The Haunting of Bly Manor could have been much better. What happened with Franklin was very simple. He didn't have a story. He's like, okay, I need to do a sequel. What am I going to do? Oh, look, we'll fake some British accents. We'll do a weird story. Didn't sell, didn't market. Hollywood's like, yeah, mate, Netflix. That's your market. I mean, I see your point, but again, what sells the seats in movie theaters is what they know is going to be the fail-safe, what they know they're going to make money with. And I'll be honest, right now, Ouija board's not even close. What is close would be your monster flicks are coming back and all of that. I think we lost Lord Don. I think Lord Don got frozen.
There it goes. He's in the middle of the lag.
He's got this look.
What's wrong with a Netflix movie?
Nothing's wrong with
Netflix.
Nothing's wrong with Netflix except how Netflix is right now with things like there's certain legal issues going on in Texas, which I can't discuss on live. But no, I mean, nothing's really wrong with Netflix, but how Hollywood behaves is like, yeah, mate, it's not going to market. No, I mean, I'll tell you, as I have friends at Hammer Horror Studios, and they were saying that Hammer wanted to come back. Hollywood basically told Hammer no. Netflix. I mean, they lost. Netflix did not bid on the Hammer Studios. It went to Amazon, but it was the same thing. It was like, no, we can't market it. The Hammer wanted to do a whole mini couple of movies involving Ouija history and all of this. Amazon said, no, but we'll do other movies. Netflix was like, yeah, no, mate, we're not going to even bother. But again, it's marketing. They're looking for what markets.
We have reached the end of that time period, and we have another question from the chat room. This comes from Trey, who asks about using Ouija boards with shielding and grounding, and would you discuss the extent to which this does or does not, in your opinion, make them safe to use? And Ravenwolf, you can go first.
Yes, they would be. Anytime you use something where you're shielded and grounded 100%, how Ouija boards work is it focuses on your conscious levels. The more you're grounded, the more you're protected. It's not going to affect you. Think of it a bit like having a computer that's protected by a firewall and antivirus scanner, right? Everything that you can do to protect yourself is going to reflect in the spiritual. Great question, Trey. Thank you. I think in general, you know, whether you're a young person or an older person, the more you are versed in protection, you know what you're getting yourself into. The more you have that protection, the better you are.
Thank you, Ravenwolf and Saran.
So people imagine things all of the time. And so this is one of those moments. So yes, have your shielding and protecting. Go down to New Orleans and get your Marie Laveau protection packet. Go to Salem and get your Salem witch practice process. Go to any of our readers and get your practice and protection things. You have your holy water ready to pour on that board. There is no amount of protection you can't have that will make a difference if the demon's really coming to get you, because the demon knows through your own inner space of how to get to you, because it's going to get into you through your fear, your greed, and your energy. I mean, what are you going to go on the Ouija board for? What is really worth condemning an entire energy field around you? I mean, where did your grandfather hide the golden coins that he had all his life? And nobody knows where they're at. Where is the ancient will that exists? What is the family curse? These are the things that are worthy of a Ouija board. Not like, oh, does Bobby love me, and do I want to have sex with him on Friday night? And all too often they do this. And of course, Grandma is saying, of course I do. And the demons are going to say, of course, we want prodigy in the reincarnational energy. And in fact, if people have had sex over the Ouija board, you put your Ouija board under the bed, you're risking a possessed child. Simply put. So can you have protection against it? Not only should you protect it when it comes out, a hazmat suit is not enough if you're not doing it right. But worse, you must make sure it goes back in this box. It's consecrated box, which comes from the company, because that box is very, very special. The longer you keep the box, the more valuable your board, the more protected it is. And make sure you put it as far away from you as possible when you're not using it. And putting a circle of salt around it is really good. Washing your board with holy water and lavender, braising it in patchouli, and maybe you're satisfied. But make sure that question is worth all of that energy.
So we have one final question for this evening, and then we'll wrap up. This comes from Mary in the chat room. And Mary is preparing to bring out a line of Ouija board underwear. And she would like your opinion on the potential uses for this product and where she might wish to advertise. Ravenwolf, would you like to go first?
Oh my. To quote Donald Lewis here, oh my. Just direct quote that. Ouija board has always been in fashion. I mean, quite seriously. It's like this taboo thing, right? There's this kind of counterculture thing when it comes to Ouija boards. People love to have Ouija board earrings. They love to have everything. They may or may not even believe in them, but it's all about the fashion. As for Ouija board underwear, this is a first for me.
I think that the glow-in-the-dark Ouija thong will be particularly popular.
I mean, I could see why it would come in. I mean, we live in a crazy, crazy world. Those who watched my stream earlier today, you know exactly how crazy the world is. It wouldn't really cause any form of summoning or anything. It's a bit like me wearing countless amounts of pentagrams, right? I'm wearing 2 pendants right now, right? Does this mean I'm about to summon the demons? No, it's a fashion thing. Great question, Mary. Oh boy. For fashion, I think it would look kind of cool. Why not? Just why not? I mean, 2020 can't be more messed up. Why not just why not just go for broke? Great question. It's one of those questions that's really hard to answer as well. It wouldn't cause you any harm. It wouldn't cause anything. Again, it's just words. I could right now, right? I could get a piece of paper on my desk. Where's a blank piece of paper? Somewhere on my desk is blank paper, right? I could write a Ouija board and put it on me. Am I about to become possessed by the demons and all this? No. But once you start the ritual of Ouija summoning, yeah, things are different. I don't think that somebody's going to buy a pair of underwear and somehow start summoning things in. First of all, it'd be really painful. Second of all, inappropriate for the spirits. It's not exactly the nicest conduit to go through. Especially if you look like me, it's not exactly going to be nice. Just saying. A great question. Thanks, Mary.
Of course, the real question is, if you're using Ouija underwear, what are you using for the planchette? But Sir Ed, it's your turn.
So I am going to summon and I'm going to channel Archdemon Squiggy. And he has said that, Mary, you have the right answer. And if you do this, you will see hundreds of thousands of dollars from the sale of Ouija board underwear. And you need to create a velvet or a Velcro plushette to it. And basically, I can tell you Victoria's Secrets and other these places will. Because if you can leave the plushette, put it on a finger, I guarantee that there will be a lot of people who will use this to come and summon spirits. And of course, the best type. This is the path for succubus and incubus to come in. And everyone knows if you're possessed by a succubus or incubus, or even just simply masturbating in your room to your underwear with a planchette on the finger, you can get answers. You might have to do a little think about the webcam girls who are doing the gothic stuff. Absolutely fantastic. And don't forget, bras are really good too, so they can show off the bras. This is a great way to demonstrate your love of the Ouija board and consider how patternistic. How do you advertise it? Facebook advertising, YouTube wearing it, sending to influencers who are doing Instagram modeling. And of course, the devil knows how to pass its own marketing. So once you begin, Squiggy is going to be behind you because his entire bonus based on every year is based on how many people have observed and used the Squiggy's terrific and powerful.
Unless you have diarrhea, and then the expletive will hit the fan.
Marketing in the world. Remember, you're helping get status. Poor little.
I think we lost Ed and Don. Oh my God, we lost both of them. Don's frozen in mid thought. He's like, and Ed's like,
I can still hear everyone.
You are still here, sir. I see you. I see you. Ed, Ed's like, Ed looks like he's about to unleash something. He's like, gosh. Welcome back, Ed.
Well, you never know.
I'm just trying to picture what would happen if, like, you had a really bad upset stomach and you got Ouija board underwear on. I'm not even going to touch that picture right now.
So, coming soon to Magic TV, The Adventures of Archdemon Squiggy. Watch for it after Samhain. Lori is referencing the bowels of hell in the chat room.
Sorry, that cracked me up, Red Lori. Thank you.
So, at this point, I would like to offer you each a chance to sum up your position, and we will close for the evening. Reverend Sir Ed, would you like to go first?
I can't hear a word you're saying. My internet crashed on me for some reason.
I was saying that we could that we would have a brief moment to sum up your position, and then we will close for the evening. Ravenwolf, would you like to go first?
In my defense, the same zombie fairies that
kind of overwhelmed
from Witch Hat chats are not affecting Rev Ed. In my defense, if Pamela Maxwell Griffiths is watching this, it's not the same zombie fairies. Okay, Ouija boards aren't dangerous. I think a lot of it comes from Hollywood. A lot of it comes from the over-sensitilization that media has done. Ouija boards are no less dangerous than any other forms of divination, depending on who holds them. I've had a lot of them. But they're not dangerous. They're not going to open the bowels of hell. Sorry, that cracked me up talking about underwear. But they're not dangerous. They're really not. Again, it just comes down to who has them, who holds them, the level of knowledge, and what their true intent really is. We talk a lot about demons. Yeah. Demons and angels said the same thing. There's only 33,331 of them in the Zoroastrian system. But they could really care less about interacting with humans. They could care less. Again, we label things, we term things because we've always been told that certain things are attracted to certain objects. Are they? No. But it's how we've always been told. So yeah, my point is they're not dangerous.
Thank you, Ravenwolf. And Sir Ed, would you care to sum up your position?
So, information tonight, nothing is not accepted in some forms of Christianity and other fear-mongering states. So everything I've talked about in the con is that an absolute that everything I said about he's telling us about the placenta of underwear is absolutely brilliant idea and should be numbered as. Remember, we love to sensationalize fear. And the Ouija board is sensationalized fear. It's been given an attack. The Christian world, everything I did today wasn't necessarily so much for pagan worlds. I can be having completely different people, but the Christian world, I am an absolute correct in how I'm dealing with this. And if you're Christian, you should never ever touch it. That energy will contradict itself, and you will find yourself in a deep paradigm shift that only will result in one thing. You're going to become a witch. Touching a Ouija board and a Bible, a witch hunter or a witch. And so that is what I'm warning you tonight. Next week, I'm hoping to bring into and show you how this is important, that even touching a Ouija board is so worthy of condemnation that if you're a Christian, you're going to hell irrevocably. Are you showing the fly?
Thank you both.
Or I'll continue. Trust me. Okay.
The Biden fairy has spoken.
The Christian position. And a Thorifly, what did you think of tonight's debate? Oh, you thought it was delicious. Oh, I see. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this week's Ouija board debate. Watch for the further adventures of the Archdemon Squeaky coming to you in the future. And until next time, may you blessed be.
And be back next week with CM Broadcasting brings you the third and final Ouija board debate. If you want to join our panel next week or have any questions, let us know. We really need your answers. Do you think the Ouija boards are a tool to be respected, a tool that be out there as a toy, or is it really the gateway to hell? Next week, part 3.
And who knows, we may have the prototype for Ouija board underwear.